This is Texans TV. Texans Extra Points is sponsored by BHP and by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by your local Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.
We are ready to rock at NRG Stadium. Whitney Merciless with the sack. Throws left side of the end zone. Caught. Hopkins. Touchdown, Houston.
Texans Extra Points is right now, and we're so very happy that you're with us. Hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving, and we're ready for game day against the Patriots. I'm Drew Doherty. I'm your host, and with me tonight in this gorgeous jacket, might I say, Cecil Shorts III, former Houston Texan, current Texans ambassador, as well as Sean Pendergast from Sports Radio 610 and the Houston Press. We have much to discuss. Sit tight. We're going to get to it, but first, we knock some news of the week out of the way in our section called Quick Hits, and we start with the quarterback, Deshaun Watson, taking on the Patriots, and he detailed just exactly what the game plan is going to be against New England. He didn't really, but he kind of described what to look for.
You just got to go with the flow of the game. I mean, you just got to, depending on what we come up with the game plan, OB and Tim, how we want to attack it. But at the same time, you got to, when they're going up one-on-one, you just got to give Hop a chance.
And on the other side of the ball, the Patriots are playing defense at an historic level. They've taken the ball away from their opponents 19 times more than they've turned it over this season. Bill O'Brien recently gave a history lesson on how good they've been in that turnover differential category since 2001.
I read an amazing stat. Since 2001, they are plus 208 in the turnover takeaway battle. They have 200 more takeaways since 2001 than their opponent. They've taken care of the ball. They take the ball away. And since 2001, when they win the turnover battle, they're 154-13. So you're talking about a team that, whatever type of team they have, whether they have, this type of team or that type of team, however you guys, would observe their team, they're fundamentally, they do things right all the time. And I think that's what we all strive to do as football teams, is to play as disciplined, to do things that are in the best interest of the team all the time. They have, without a doubt, set the trend on that, and I think that's what we need to do.
But it all goes back to the quarterback, doesn't it? Tom Brady, one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest, and Whitney Merciless describes what you need to do to defend against him.
The biggest thing is just taking away some of his weapons. And just working. It's like the rushing coverage has to work in combination in order to get there.
All right, so it's a big game, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the game itself now. But just how big is this game? I mean, it's something that you saw last week with the Colts. That was kind of dubbed an unofficial AFC South championship game. But this one's big, too. Just how big is it, Cecil?
I think it shapes up because the AFC playoff picture is starting to shape up in whole. And I think it's important because you just played the Ravens and the Colts, and it's a big 3-game stretch. Mm-hmm. So not only can you see where you match up with some of the best in the AFC, also you want to put yourself in position to have home field if you can't get the top 2 spots for the wild card. Yeah,
and you're going to need some help for that to happen. A win is one of those ways to help. But you and I have talked about this, just how massive a 3-game stretch this was. But in particular, what about this one?
Yeah, well, this one allows you to go 2-1 in that stretch, which is something I thought would be necessary to compete for what Cecil's talking about. I think even beyond that, this is a game about perception for the Texans. You know, I feel like the Kansas City game was a game about perception earlier this season that they were successful in. I feel like they gave some of that perception that they gained in that game back in the Baltimore game. So this is a game that is a statement game in a way for the Texans. This is really their last chance in the regular season to tell the league that, hey, we may not be the 1 or 2 seed in the AFC, but we belong on the same field with those teams. Yeah. And I think, you're the former player, Cecil, you can say better than I can. I think it matters for the players, too, just in terms of going into eventually the postseason with that sort of notch in their belt.
Yeah, how true is that, the players aspect?
I think it's huge. It's a psyche. I mean, just think the last time the Texans have beat the Patriots. I mean, it's
2009.
It's so much that goes into this game. They're preparing each and every week to win each game, but when you play the Patriots, there's so much on the line. They're 10-1, and if you can beat this team, going forward and going to the playoffs or going to the last 4 or 5 games of the season. It's big mentally and physically going forward.
And one way you might be able to do that is with Will Fuller playing the way he played last week, playing the way he played against the Atlanta Falcons. How big has his return been for this offense, Sean?
Well, I think it's huge. I think it forces other teams to defend the entirety of the field. In this game in particular, where you've got a pair of cornerbacks in Jackson and Gilmore that have played really well this year as a tandem, and Gilmore may be one of the best players in the league defensively, it at least puts another option out there where they've got to think about what to do with Gilmore during the game. You know, if there were no Fuller, it'd be a very easy decision. He just chases Hopkins everywhere. But what Fuller forces other defenses to do, not just because of his top-end speed, but because of how good he's gotten in the short and intermediate game. His most important catch in that last game, Cecil, was the the catch that closed the game out on 3rd and 4.
You know, and Cecil, you were ahead of the curve as far as calling him out as being an all-around great receiver. We all knew he was a deep threat. We all knew he could go and burn the top off of the defense, but he's actually, like he said, putting together a complete game, and he started doing that last year when he was on the field.
He's an all-around receiver. He can run routes. He can get off the press. Of course, we knew coming out of Notre Dame, your alma mater, Notre Dame, they can take the top off the field. But when you have a guy like that, you look at last week, he opened up things for everybody else. Will Fuller opened up for Hopkins. Will Fuller opened up for everybody on the offense. So you need that going into this week, and moving forward, you need a lot of explosive plays.
Yeah, and the only one of the few quarterbacks that Fuller's played with that's been able to kind of unlock him and get him loose has been Deshaun Watson. So it all goes back to number 4. This is one of the big games. I mean, he always plays well, knock on wood, in prime time. This is prime time against somebody he hasn't beat but had a chance to a few times in his career. Yeah,
he played well against him his rookie year. You know, his second start, he was amazing. And then last year in that first game of the year, they kind of put themselves behind the 8 ball with that turnover early in the game. But, yeah, it's a big game for Deshaun Watson, too. No question about that.
It sure is. All right, we're going to get into a little bit of some special teams, and we're going to flip things over to the New England side of things. They blocked a punt last week against the Cowboys, and our John Harris breaks it all down, explains what happened, the X's and the O's. It's this week's version of the Telestrator. Check this out.
Welcome to Texans Illustrated, presented by BMW. I'm your host, John Harris, and we're going to take a look at a punt. A punt? Yeah, a punt. It's a key play that we never do a Telestrator on until we face the New England Patriots. This is a huge play in the Patriots' win, 13-9 win over the Dallas Cowboys. And it's the kind of thing that over the years the Patriots have utilized to give themselves an advantage. Don't beat yourself, and this is one of the ways that the Cowboys ended up beating themselves by giving up this block. Now, we'll look at it from this angle, and Matthew Slater is going to be, you can see his foot right there, that's him, number 18. He's going to end up making this block. And they're going to single the gunners, and right away that should give you, with 8 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's man on man here. And if they make a mistake, center goes the wrong way, they make a feeble block, somebody's going to come through and have an opportunity to block this punt. And that's exactly what happened. The Patriots load up this side with 4. They're eventually going to get man-to-man blocks here. And Slater is right there. Joe Thomas, that's a linebacker right there. Linebacker against a wide receiver, you'd think easy block, right? Well, no, he doesn't make it, and Slater goes by him. Now watch Slater with his right arm block that and not touch the punter. That's phenomenal. Ball goes up. Patriots get it. They're going to score a touchdown. Now take a look at it from this angle. Giving up a blocked punt is inexcusable. Inexcusable. Should not happen. Good snap. Punter gets it off. Should not happen. But the Patriots force these things on you with how they do things. Now, there are 3 guys right here, 1 there, and Nate Ebner's mugging here. So what's going to happen is he's going to fan out, out, and out. So this is going to all be about 48 on 18. And on special teams, if you're not taking pride in what you're doing, look at this block attempt, which is not very good, by number 48. He just lets Slater go right by him. This is no block attempt. I mean, what is that? If you take it easy on punt block or punt team, punt protection, you're going to get burned. Jarwin gets him. Dorrance Armstrong gets the inside guy. They handle him okay. But Joe Thomas does nothing against Slater. Does not make the block. Slater gets the block. And the Patriots are going to get the football in great field position. In a 13-9 game, that play turned the tide. A punt block by one of the smaller guys in the field. Matt Slater, number 18, as a special teamer, is one of the best that's ever played the game. That cannot happen on Sunday against the New England Patriots.
Watson takes the snap, throws downfield, left sideline, and Fuller with the catch. Big play to Will Fuller. Watson fakes the give, mini boot, looking, and he's going to air it out deep. Watson looking downfield, and he's got a man inside the 25-yard line. Will Fuller, another huge play.
We're back, and we know you love Next Gen Stats, which are powered by AWS. And since we were talking about Will Fuller just before the break, hey, let's talk about him some more, because 4 of the 5 fastest plays this season for the Texans, courtesy of Will Fuller. And a bunch of them came last week against the Colts. Will Fuller, your next-gen stat, look at those numbers. That is some serious stuff for number 1-5 Fuller. Drew Doherty, Cecil Shorts III, and Sean Pendergast. Guys, let's talk about the Texans defense, the Texans secondary. We've heard all about Stephon Gilmore and how exceptional he is, and we're going to get into him in just a second. But Bradley Roby looks like is probably going to be able to suit up and defend against the Patriots. How much has this secondary missed Roby over the last 4, 5, 6 games?
To be honest, they missed him. He's one of the most important pieces in that secondary. But I think it was cool to see Conley come along. It was cool to see Hargraves, who was a great pickup by the Texans, come along and play well last week against the Colts. So adding him would, and it's kind of weird saying it, it'll add depth to this secondary, to this the cornerback position especially. But having him back gives you some confidence and some leeway, because what Rack does well, Romeo Cornell, he mixes Roby around a lot. Early in the year, he'll be at corner, but move him to safety in certain coverages, able to move him against certain players in the slot or outside. So having that freedom to mix his coverages up and try to get things on Brady will be good.
It's probably bigger for Roby that he comes back than it is for the Texans, because he's on a one-year deal right now.
Very true.
He needed to get back on the field.
It's kind of nice, too, when you think about the first time you played the Colts, you had guys like Phillip Gaines, Keon Crossan, Xavier Crawford, and a little bit of Lonnie Johnson for the bulk of that second half. And then the next time you play the Colts, you don't get gashed as much. And, oh, big surprise, you have Jonathan Joseph, Hargraves, Conley, guys who are all first-round picks.
3 first-round picks.
Yeah, I mean, you've upgraded talent there, and now you're layering in Roby. This is good against any team, especially against Tom Brady. Right?
Yeah, Tom Brady. And the weird thing about this is not a Patriots receiving core that really scares you a whole lot. They got a couple rookies out there, N'Keal Harry and Jacoby Myers out there as rookie. You know, Julian Edelman's the guy, so I don't know if Roby chases him around or if they use Hargraves in the slot on him or whatever the case may be. It'll be great having Roby back. I love the strategy of what the Texans are doing with the secondary in terms of the pickups that they've made, getting these guys that are sort of stocks that are buying low right now on Conley, especially Hargraves, who nobody else in the league, literally nobody else wanted.
Right.
I love the strategy of how they're building the depth, not just for 2019, but these will be guys that will be on the team next year too.
Yeah, you brought it up. I mean, they're guys who are under contract and not just for this year. Okay, pass rush is something that's still a work in progress even when you have J.J. Watt, but now that you don't have number 99, what do you see there? How important is discipline with Romeo Cornell's defense with regards to pass rush?
It's extremely important. Everybody has a role, and when you play that role if everybody's healthy, I think you get a little more pass rush than now. But going into this week against the Pats, it's imperative that you get pressure on Tom Brady, and especially up the middle, whether it's DJ Reader figuring it out, Brandon Dunn, whether it's Merciless outside, or even having the linebackers inside blitzing. You have to get pressure and move him, get him uncomfortable in the pocket, so the pass rush is extremely important.
DJ Reader's had a good day against Tom Brady a time or two.
Yeah, he has. Maybe you get something from Jacob Martin. The pass rush is key. I don't know where it's going to come from, to be honest with you, to the extent that they need it. I don't know where it's going to come from. It's what made the Colts strategy so curious in that game. I get pounding the ball. They had a good game with Jonathan Williams. I was really surprised that they didn't test the Texans' pass rush in their secondary in that game.
That surprised me so much.
Yeah.
I mean, fantasy-wise, the Williams did awesome, but
this guy
always about the fantasy.
I know,
always about the fantasy.
Good stuff. All right, we're going to break down the matchup a little bit more in just a bit. We got a little trivia to leave you with. So Let's go back to 2002. Let's go back to the very first road win for the Houston Texans. When was it? We'll have the answer later on. This is Texans Extra Points. Texans Extra Points. All right, let's get into these Patriots. Tom Brady, I don't care what anyone says. I don't care about these chirps that the offense is struggling. The offense isn't what they're 10-1, and Tom Brady is still Tom Brady. But is he different? Is he the same? Where do you see from him?
I think he's slipped maybe a half a notch. You know, this is a weird game from that standpoint because I watched a few Patriot games this week just to start to get ready for doing our work on the radio and on here and on pre and post for the Texans. And I hesitate to say this about the Patriots and Tom Brady, but they're a really boring 10-1 team that looks like a beatable 10-1 team. That's what scares me. I wish it was the Bills that was 10-1 coming in here like this, because then I'd be like, yeah, the Texans can win this game, but it's the Patriots. He's probably slipped a half a notch or so. He's 42 years old, but that guy still gets by so much on guts, football IQ, knowledge, and accuracy.
I was going to say he does talk about the slips, and he mentioned the football IQ. How much does that knowledge, that experience compensate for maybe when you do lose a thing or two physically?
I mean, it's the reason why Jonathan Joseph is still last. It's the reason why so many guys that play a long time, when you last that long, you obviously lose a step. But you're just so smart. You understand the game, so you understand where you need to be, where certain guys are. And then Brady's been in the same offense forever, so he understands exactly what needs to be done, and he does it well.
On the flip side, that defense, specifically Stephon Gilmore, what's the big challenge for whether it's Hopkins, whether it's Fuller, whoever goes against him? How tough is this secondary of theirs?
Well, I mean, statistically, they're at the top. Maybe it's every single defensive category. But Gilmore alone is probably the best corner in the NFL right now. He's playing at an extremely high level. He's playing extremely confident. Now the question is, what is he going to do? How are they going to match him up? Because Patriots history says they'll put their best corner on the number 2 receiver and then double Hopkins, right? So that means Fuller would be on Gilmore. Or they could just follow Gilmore, Gilmore will follow Hopkins. So we'll see how it goes, but he's playing at a high level, and the whole secondary is playing really good.
How impressed have you been by this defense?
By the Patriots defense?
Yeah.
Impressed, to Cecil's point, impressed by the output, by the numbers statistically. There's nothing that blows you away. There's no tour de force on this defense.
Right.
I don't look, even though statistically they line up with some of the best defenses in the history of the game, I think some of that's schedule. But it's not like the 85 Bears had some dynamic players on there. The 2000 Ravens had Ray Lewis on there. I don't know that they have a guy like that on this defense, but they're just really, really good, really, really smart. They all execute what it is they want to do. I'm very anxious to see how Bill O'Brien uses Deshaun Watson in this game. That to me is the one big trump card you have that the Texans don't always use, but when they use, they seem to have used it well, is that RPO game with Deshaun. How do they use that to keep this Patriot defense off balance?
I think this is the most beatable Patriots team that the Texans will face in a long time overall. I think this is the defensive-led Patriots team, so it's going to be a lot on Deshaun. If Deshaun can score a certain amount of points, I think you win the game.
Okay, let's go back to you, Sean. Gatorade player to watch versus the Patriots is?
I'm going to go on the defensive side of the ball for the Texans with Zach Cunningham.
Okay.
I think we were thinking about this on our radio show earlier today, and asking ourselves, with J.J. Watt out right now, who's the best defensive player on the Texans? You could cobble an argument together for about 4 or 5 different guys, and I think Zach Cunningham's one of them. The reason why I think he's so important in this game in particular, a couple of things. One, the Patriots like to use their running backs and their tight ends quite a bit, especially the running backs out of the backfield. And with no Dylan Cole, who's their best cover linebacker, a lot of that's going to fall on Zach Cunningham. I think Cunningham's versatility athletically, too, plays big in this game, because you'll be able to, because of how the Patriots like to use their running backs, you don't feel any angst about keeping him on the field all 3 downs, and his ability to perform at a high level, both in the run game, maybe even a little in the blitz game as well, to get some of that pass rush that they need to generate. So to me, it's Zach Cunningham.
All right, how about you?
For me, it's Will Fuller. I think you have to find a way to continue explosive plays down the field, and when you go against a great defense like this, how high they're playing, high level they're playing, you have to open up things. So you get Fuller going down the field, a couple of big catches that open up, then they have to play more true to what's going on. So Fuller, big game, hope it happens.
All right, I like that one. And since you took Fuller, I'm going to go with Stills, because we know what they got to do with Hopkins. We know what they got to do with Fuller. We don't know how they're going to do it, but he's still got Stills in there, and he's getting half a yard more than Fuller does per play. Stick with us. We've got more Texans Extra Points when we come back.
Texans Extra Points is sponsored by BHP and by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans. And by your local Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.
All right, the Texans trivia question was, what was the first road win in team history and franchise history? It was Week 8 at Jacksonville in 2002. Texans would go 4-12 that season. Drew Doherty, Cecil Shorts, Sean Pendergast. It's time for the FCCU keys to the game. Let's begin with you, Cecil. I'll start there in the middle. What do the Texans have to do to get a win?
Number one, score 28 points. The Patriots, the last 2 or 3 games, have not gone over 27. I think if you score 28, you give yourself a chance to win. And it's weird, put pressure on Brady to score, but anyways. Number 2, put pressure on Tom Brady. Somehow get some pass rush, some type of blitzing, something going on, and get pressure on him.
I like it. How about you, Sean?
Special teams, I'm going to start with. We saw John Harris break down that punt block by Matt Slater in the Dallas game. This is not a Patriots team that I don't think can move the ball, 13, 14 plays to get up and down the field. Don't give them field position that makes it a shorter field for them to go get points. That's number 1. Number 2, the turnover battle. We heard Coach O'Brien talk about 154-13 when the Patriots win the turnover battle. That means in 2018, on the very first play of the game, their win probability dropped to about 10%, the Texans. You got to protect the football in this game.
Man, you took my 2 normal standbys, so I'm going to go with this. Just stay close late. If it's late and you're close, I like your chances for the Texans at home with Deshaun Watson. So make sure there's a close game late, because we've seen too many times in this series, not necessarily with Deshaun, but in this series, the Patriots run away and hide.
Yeah.
My second one, hit them deep, baby. I think you can hit this defense. I think you can hit just about any defense in the NFL deep with this crop of receivers in Stills, in Fuller, in Hopkins, some of the tight ends. So go deep, challenge them there, because you can run the football when you do that as well. Sean, Cecil, thanks so much for the time. It was good spending a little bit of the Thanksgiving weekend with you, and it's good spending our Thanksgiving weekend with you, because the Texans got a big one on Sunday against the Patriots. We hope you're doing well, and we'll see you next time. Go Texans.
Thanks for watching Texans Extra Points. Now, leave your keys to the game in the comments below.